Since you guys mentioned that you are fans of Robot Jones, I got a couple comments on that. I thought I'd actually rewatch a couple episodes, so I did. I rewatched 2. There aren't too many to begin with. And ultimately, I feel the same way. I really like some parts of it. And overall, I think the storytelling's just okay. And for me, as a writer, as a story person, that's what I look for. Ultimately, I'll start with the stuff I really like. I love the art, as I've said yesterday. I love the sketchy look. I like the character designs. It's so visually distinct. I don't see that style very much. So it's really cool to look at. It's fun. It's interesting. It doesn't feel super cheap. It feels very stylish. And I know it's going for this awkward, sketchy look, which tends to capture this really retro look and this middle school world, which is fun. Another thing I really like, I like that the kids look like real nerds. I like that. Well, for one, it definitely implies this message that, hey, everyone's awkward. Middle school is just a really awkward place. And that makes sense for the kind of age they're going for, the kind of people who this kind of story focuses on. I like that. It makes sense within the world of the show. And I point this out because more often than not, I see a nerdy character, and a lot of times, especially for the tween audiences, it's essentially just a beautiful person with frizzy hair and glasses, maybe braces. Even a lot of these nerdy characters in Hollywood are so ridiculously good looking anyway. And more often, I mean, that doesn't bother me. It's just that's all I'm seeing. And I like a bit of a mix. I think we all do. This one, I like that the nerdy kids look like real nerds. And it's, granted, everything should fit with the story. And that's the kind of story it is. It makes sense. And I said the same thing about Craig of the Creek. I like that you get that variety. Because Robot's a nerdy character. I like that his love interest is really nerdy too. Though there's still a lot of tropes going on. We'll get to that. I think she's got a cool design, that she's someone with a prosthetic leg. She has these very hilarious braces, which I've seen people who had headgear in real life. Not quite to that extent, but I've seen headgear before. But I think nowadays it's getting more and more phased out, which just adds to the time and place that it's set. And I like that, but it's not just the main characters. Everyone is awkward, nerdy, very different, very appealing designs. Even the girls too. A lot of times you'll see nerdy boys and pretty girls. But here, even the girls have different facial features and different body types, different looks. I mean, the side characters don't really get focused on all that much, but I still like, they have interesting designs. They're varied. Some of them are really lanky, some of them are really short, some of them are fat. The face shapes are played. Some of them have big noses, some of them have really skinny faces, some of them are pimply. Yeah, actually seeing pimples on some of the characters, that's something. So, that's really cool to see. I obviously love Robot Jones' original voice, and you do hear it in the theme song. Again, nothing against Bobby Block, who did the voice, but I'm one of those fans who really likes that original voice. And I like some of the end messages, because the structure of the show is robots trying to understand human life. So he immerses himself in it, fails, succeeds, learns something. I do like the end messages because they have good ideas to them. One of the ones I saw that I actually remembered from being a kid was the school newspaper. So Robot Jones is forced to join the paper. He takes pictures of strange and interesting things, becomes a sensation, and then it turns against him. And the ending message is essentially, the more boring your life, the more you want to read about other people's troubles. And that is very true. It's a good message, and that's very relevant, especially nowadays, but it's not really supported by the story. But I liked that conclusion. I like the message. I know other people have said some of the messages of this show had some very strong, relevant ideas, and I like that. Now here's for the stuff that I'm not as into. I don't think it's all that funny. For the kind of awkward world it is, there aren't really a lot of jokes. I definitely expected more of a comedy, especially because the setup is so strange. They could have had so much fun with some of these characters. I understand that Robot Jones is not supposed to understand humans, not really supposed to know what these rituals are all about. But I personally would have liked to see more of the side characters. I like his friends a lot. His friends will make fun of him, but they'll still have his back, and I found them very charming. But they're not really in it all that much. They're very much pushed to the side. I like his love interest too. At least I want to like her, but she's kind of mean to him for really petty reasons, which sucks. But there's times when she's charming and adorable and awkward in her own way. I would have wished they fleshed her out a bit more, but especially in older storytelling, the love interest is usually the least interesting. It's such a shame. It's such a cute, awkward design too, and you don't really see disabled characters, at least. No, you don't really. And what I like about her is that it's never played as a joke. He still finds her very beautiful. She actually kind of acts like your stereotypical pretty snobby girl character, which is kind of a bummer. Oh, except that because she has the potential, because she's so awkward in her own way. She kind of changes her opinion on Robot Jones pretty sporadically, so I'm not really into the characterization. I've also seen it done so many times. And I guess it's because I want to really get into these characters, and the focus is kind of just on Robot, which he's fine, he's great, but I think it would have been a little more fun if he got to work off some of the other characters a bit more. But I like the foundation. I wonder if this show was done nowadays, if that would have been played with a bit more. Maybe like retro. I don't know if it's coming back. I don't know if it has enough of a fan base. But I think there's stuff there. Okay, more stuff. As a kid, this is memory, but I do remember a couple episodes that had downer endings. Like the one where the Scantron falls in love with him, or when some bullies cheat in a competition, they get away with it, Robot Jones looks bad. That's it. As a kid, that's especially frustrating. And they don't really... I know they're always supposed to have messages. They definitely have little lessons, little morals. Don't really do much with it. I think more could have been done with some of the messages being really supported by the story. And I don't really think they tie in as well as they could have. The one I saw, the school newspaper, the message is supposed to be it seems like people want to cause trouble when they're bored. People want to read about other people's troubles when they're bored. Or at least bored with their own lives. And I think, yeah, there's truth to that. But it wasn't really supported by the story. In fact, it kind of makes sense. So Robot embarrasses the principal, and then the principal, very petty, frames Robot for a series of pranks that make him uncool at school. Also, the principal looks like Hitler. I'm not the first to have pointed that out. The voice actor is Jeff Bennett, he's very, very funny. Jeff Bennett as the Principal Madman. It's a great name, Principal Madman. Definitely has this campy 90s cartoon quality to it. So, yeah, but the good news, they don't make a ton of Hitler jokes, which, thank God, I'm kind of sick of them. But I'm not the first person who's pointed that out of the design. And it never feels like, it just feels like it's just a dumb cartoon joke. Not really, I'm not going to get offended over that. Let's see, yeah, in the world, yeah, the other thing I would have liked to get into more was this world. Again, this is such an interesting retro world. I like the transitions. They have these really cool Rubik's Cube-esque transitions from one scene to the next. And I would have liked to see more. I would have liked to see more of this world. and how this school works, and these characters, it's mostly the characters I would have liked to see a little more from. Because Robot's great and all, but it's, after a while, it's okay, it's just him. There's only so much you can give to just one character. Let the other characters interact a bit more. And I don't know if it finished what I was saying on the messages, but okay. Finishing that thought. So the message in school newspaper. So Robot embarrasses his teacher, and teacher decides to get back at him. And yeah, you know what? I had a similar issue. I had a similar issue with an Angelina Conda episode that did kind of something similar. It's, taking pictures of someone to be more sensational, but then it embarrasses them. Again, there are issues around the morals of that. Because, yeah, the principal really was being misrepresented and being manipulated. And so obviously framing Robot Jones and trying to get back at him is definitely petty, and as a result, being a teacher. He still kind of has a right to be as annoyed as he is. Because what Robot was, Robot's an innocent. He didn't understand what he was doing, why it was wrong. So I don't really blame him so much, but still, some of these issues, at least from the writing, should be addressed a bit more. But I know that wasn't much of a thing in the 90s. That's more of a thing nowadays. Me looking back, I do notice that, and especially because it's, like I said yesterday, that didn't really go into too much detail. It is kind of your typical slice of life show. It deals with a lot of these tropes that you see in a lot of kids shows, embarrassment, school dances. And I think especially since decade has gone by, at least almost 2 decades, a lot has changed, and there's more stories, and I've seen some of these same setups done a lot better in recent years. Loud House, I thought, did some of this stuff much better, and Gravity Falls has done some of this stuff really, really well, and Adventure Time and Bob's Burgers. So now I look back at some of these old shows and think, okay, wow, a lot of the storytelling is kind of straightforward, a little formulaic. Granted, I like the idea, though, of Robot Jones, and I think there is a lot you can interpret about this kind of character. I actually wondered, again, since the principal's design looks like Hitler and Robot's a bit of a nerdy, there's stereotype that a lot of Jews are nerdy. There's some truth to that. And so I thought, okay, maybe the robot metaphor could be, this could be a Jewish person. I've also seen on TV tropes someone said, this could easily have been a black person, since the light bulb on top of his head resembles an afro, and it's set in the 1970s when there was a ton of racism, so Robot could very easily be a black person feeling alienated in this white school. Very possible. I also wonder, I think this might be a slightly more insulting, but I kind of see a little applicability. I could see this person being someone, Robot Jones, I could see him being on the spectrum, or, I think the word is a neuroatypical. I think that's the word now. Learning, and by the way, learning, not perfect. I could actually kind of see that, because he doesn't really understand, Robot Jones doesn't really understand the social rules. He doesn't really know what's right or wrong, what is going to set people off. So I could honestly see this character being interpreted as someone on the spectrum. I mean, not a perfect metaphor, because I'm obviously not trying to compare people on the spectrum to robots. But sometimes when you feel out of place, sometimes it does feel like you're going through the motions, like Robot Jones. I like this. I do like the character, and I like him fine. I like him. I wonder if it would have been a bit stronger if the world was really played with more. The side characters were played with that much more. And like I said, it is not a bad show by any means. I do like it. I just can't really get into it as much as I want to. I like the artwork the most. Storytelling, part of it because I've seen it a lot back then. I've seen this slice of life genre. I like the slice of life genre. I just don't think, I think some of the storytelling is very, very standard. But there's good ideas there. And hey, it's clearly inspired people, and people clearly do remember it. I think, I'm not watching this show in particular, but I think someone said it was featured on OKK. I saw that on Twitter. But overall, it is a fun, obscure show to look back on. I know a couple people have been talking about it. So, all fun stuff. Honestly, I honestly wouldn't, for reboots, by the way, Reboot the Robot. This is another one I wouldn't mind seeing come back. Because it's another one of these cool niche retro shows, and there was good ideas here. I think you can update it maybe specifically to be about, have more thought put into, okay, well, what does Robot Jones really represent? What is this person's experience in this insane world? I don't really want to, so, I don't even want to say, I was gonna say just now, got a lot of thoughts at once. This was not written or anything. A lot of the times when I do these videos, I am winging it. At least the ones that I do daily. And now I lost my thoughts, son of a bitch. Okay. Oh yeah, this is what I was gonna say. So Robot Jones is another one of these characters. Pretty sure I've talked about this a little bit already. That he is one of these characters that everybody picks on, which sometimes I buy it. When I watch shows and that's the kind of character a show's going for, sometimes I buy it, sometimes I don't. Here I do buy it more, that this is a harsh world, that people can like him and dislike him in a millisecond, he doesn't know why. I find that really interesting, and I totally buy it's, oh, because he's a robot. And, you know, especially with all the AI movies and people being afraid of robots, oh, they're more powerful than us. I can see really a ton going on why people would be nervous around this character. And since middle school is an awkward time, why they pick on him so much. It sucks because he is so endearing and so trying to figure things out. Clearly, everyone in this world is. I would like to see some of the ideas of this show with modern storytelling, how modern storytelling tends to put a little more thought into characters, into worlds, into what the themes are. So maybe I'm just trying to see it for something it's not, because there is good here. I still love the artwork. Saw some good foundations in the storytelling, would like to see a bit more. I ranted on this a lot more than I expected to. I had a lot to say on Robot Jones. And clearly you guys did too. It's not bad.